4 World Championships, 226 Grand Prix starts, a career built on being the most complete, most dominant, most unbeatable racing driver of his generation. And tonight in Melbourne, Max Verstappen's 2026 season began with his car snapping sideways on his very first flying lap, bouncing across the gravel, slamming into the barriers at turn 1, and leaving the 4-time world champion walking away from the wreckage, shaking his hands, and heading straight to the medical center for X-rays. He will start his title defense on Sunday from 20th place, dead last. And what he said afterward is the most alarming thing Formula One has heard from its biggest star all season. Let's go through exactly what happened, because the detail matters. Verstappen headed out of the pits in Q1, with 7.5 minutes remaining on his very first flying lap of qualifying. No time on the board, no benchmark set, nothing to fall back on. He came down the start-finish straight, hit the brake pedal approaching turn 1, and the rear axle locked completely, not gradually, instantaneously. The RB22 snapped into a 180-degree spin with zero warning, skidded across the gravel trap, and hit the barrier hard enough to end his session on the spot and bring out a red flag that stopped the entire field. He climbed out of the car, looked at his hands, he had struck the steering wheel on impact, and walked to the medical center where X-rays confirmed nothing was broken. "Yeah, all good," he told the media afterward. "I just had to get some X-rays done to see if my hands were okay, but nothing was broken." His explanation of what caused the crash was delivered with the bewilderment of a man who has been driving Formula One cars for 15 years and has never felt anything like it. "I just hit the pedal, and the whole rear axle just completely locked, which, especially with these Formula One cars, is very weird. I've never experienced that in my whole life. I have no idea where it comes from. I didn't speak to the team yet." He elaborated further to Sky Sports. "It went wrong before the downshift. I hit the pedal and quickly downshift, but it was already locked on the peak of the brake pressure." The race's technical analysis explained the most likely mechanism under the new 2026 power unit regulations. The energy recovery system harvests power under braking by using the rear axle as a generator. If that harvesting is applied too aggressively at the moment the brakes are first pressed, before the mechanical braking system has taken over the load, the effect on the rear axle is essentially the same as a handbrake being applied. The car does not lock gradually, it locks immediately and violently. Martin Brundle said clearly after the session that this was not a driver error, and the data supports that verdict entirely. What happened next in the media pen is the part that has the entire paddock talking. Because Verstappen, who had already expressed his frustration at F1's new regulations in the driver's briefing on Friday night, where he was among the most vocal critics in the room, arrived in front of the cameras and refused to hold anything back. He confirmed he had told the FIA exactly what he thought of the new formula in that briefing, and then repeated every word of it publicly. "I'm definitely not having fun at all with these cars," he said. "I don't know, you can make up your mind, but I think if you look at the onboard, you see enough, right?" When a journalist suggested to him that the rear axle locking the way it did was symptomatic of the new era of F1 cars, he refused to deny it, saying only, "There are so many things that we need to look at, I think, in general as a sport." And then he delivered the line that has already become the quote of the entire Australian Grand Prix weekend: "The formula is just not correct." And that is something that is a bit harder to change. But I think we need to. The FIA has indicated it is open to adjusting the energy harvesting and deployment allowances in season, but Verstappen, sitting in the Albert Park media pen with fresh X-rays of his hands in his back pocket, dismissed that idea entirely. You can only make it slower, and then of course you get a bit more of a normal speed trace, but it's a slower speed trace. There is nothing that you can do. Now look at the broader picture the qualifying result paints for Red Bull heading into Sunday and the weeks beyond, because it is deeply uncomfortable reading. Verstappen starts 20th. His teammate, Hadjar, 19 years old, in his very first race for Red Bull Racing, qualified 3rd. A genuinely stunning debut performance that provided the Milton Keynes team with their only real positive headline of the entire day. but Hadjar's third-place time of 1 minute 19.303 seconds was nearly 8/10 of a second slower than pole-sitter George Russell. 8/10. That is the gap between the best Red Bull time and the best Mercedes time, from a driver who had never sat in an RB22 in competitive conditions before today. When Verstappen was asked about the gap to the front, he did not try to minimize it. The gap is 8/10 to P1, so that's still a very big gap. And we know that we have to improve the car and engine to fight Mercedes, because at the end of the day, we're not here to be P3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. We're here to win. Step by step, hopefully we can get closer. And then came the sentence that cut deepest of all. I said already in Bahrain, let's wait and see in Melbourne, and you will see how fast they are. So for me, that's not a surprise. In other words, Verstappen has known for weeks that Mercedes had more performance than they were showing in testing. He said it publicly. And he was right. Hadjar himself tried to frame the afternoon constructively, saying, "What happens in Melbourne? It just doesn't really matter compared to the car we're going to have at the end of the year." A mature and realistic assessment from a rookie who is already thinking about the development arc of a long season rather than the immediate embarrassment of Saturday's result. The gap to Mercedes on Saturday suggests that engine is currently a meaningful step behind. Whether that gap closes over the course of a 24-race season as Red Bull's in-house engineering team continues to develop, the Ford-badged unit is the central technical question hanging over. And that title defense begins on Sunday from 20th place, with Carlos Sainz and Lance Stroll, both of whom failed to participate in qualifying at all, as his only company at the very back of the grid. Verstappen was asked if Sunday was going to be a long day. His answer was 3 words, delivered with the weary certainty of a man who has already made peace with a very difficult afternoon. It's going to be a long season. That's what I'm telling you. When asked what setup changes he might make overnight to try to find something for the race, he gave perhaps the most honest answer of his entire career. I wouldn't even know what to change, to be honest. That is the 4-time world champion, the man who has won 4 consecutive drivers' championships, the man who has been the fastest driver on the planet for the better part of 4 years. Starting from the pit lane on Sunday, in a car he does not know how to fix, at a track where Mercedes is 8/10 of a second faster, on a formula he has publicly called not correct. The 2026 Formula One season has arrived, and for Max Verstappen, it has already become everything he feared. What do you think? Can Verstappen fight his way through the field from 20th on Sunday and salvage something from the opening race? Is this Red Bull power unit gap to Mercedes bridgeable within a single season? And do Verstappen's words about the formula being not correct mean we are genuinely heading toward a moment where the sport loses its biggest star? Drop your predictions in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button and subscribe for more F1 news. I'll catch you in the next one.